A helpless Mustang foal, barely 6 months old, found himself surrounded by armed hunters in the remote Wyoming mountains. His mother lay motionless nearby, and escape seemed impossible. But what happened next shocked even the hardened hunters, and proved that sometimes fuel has its own justice. This true story will make you question everything you thought you knew about nature's protective instincts. The morning sun cast long shadows across the Wyoming highlands as 6-month-old Storm pressed against his mother's still form. The young colt's distinctive black coat, with a lightning-shaped white mark in his forehead, trembled as he nudged her repeatedly, not understanding why she wouldn't rise. The shot had come at dawn. Illegal hunters pursuing bighorn sheep had missed their target and struck the chestnut mare instead. She'd run for nearly a mile, her foal following desperately before collapsing in this small canyon. Now Storm stood alone too young to survive without her, too loyal to leave her side. The hunters tracked the blood trail, expecting to find a wounded ram. Instead, they discovered their triple mistake, for men emerged from the ridge, rifles in hand, stopping short at the sight before them. The mare was beyond help, but the foal was a problem. Can't leave witnesses, Jake Morrison, the group's leader, muttered. At 45, he'd spent decades hunting these mountains illegally, always avoiding the law. A dead mare could be explained as a predator attack, but an orphaned foal would bring questions and investigations. The men spread out, forming a loose circle around Storm. The colt's eyes rolled white with terror. Booth refused to abandon his mother's body. He was trapped between the canyon wall and the approaching hunters, his small hooves dancing nervously on the rocky ground. "Make it quick," another hunter said, raising his rifle. No need to make it suffer. But Storm possessed the wild intelligence of his Mustang heritage. As the circle tightened, he spotted a narrow gap between the boulders too small for an adult horse, but perhaps wide enough for a desperate foal. He feinted left, drawing the hunter's attention, then bolted right toward the opening. The crack of gunfire echoed off canyon walls. Bullets sparked against stone inches from Storm's flanks as he squeezed through the gap, leaving patches of black dot hair on the rough granite. He emerged on the other side, heart hammering, and ran deeper into the canyon's maze. Behind him, the hunters cursed. The canyon was a labyrinth of box ends and false passages. They'd have to hunt him down like prey, and time was not on their side. They were already trespassing on protected land. "Split up," Jake ordered. "That foal doesn't leave this canyon alive. Too much at stake." Storm ran blindly, his mother scent still in his nostrils. The image of her motionless form burned into his young mind. The canyon twisted and turned, sometimes opening into small clearings, other times narrowing to passages barely wide enough for his small body. The hunters' voices echoed off the walls, coming from multiple directions now. Storm's sides heaved with exhaustion and terror. At 6 months, he still needed milk, still needed guidance. Without his mother, death would claim him even if the hunters didn't. He pressed into a shadowed alcove, trying to control his panic breathing. Footsteps crunched on gravel nearby. A shadow fell across the canyon floor. Storm closed his eyes, trembling as the footsteps came closer. Storm's legs shook as he pressed deeper into the alcove, but there was nowhere left to go. The shadow lengthened, and Jake Morrison appeared, rifle raised. The hunter's weathered face showed no emotion as he aimed at the terrified foal. "Sorry, little one," Jake muttered. "Wrong place, wrong time." Storm's nostrils flared, catching scents beyond the gunpowder and human sweat. Something else was near, something that made his instinct scream danger from an entirely different direction. But trapped between stone and steel, he could only stand frozen. Jake's finger tightened on the trigger. The canyon held its breath. Then the mountain screamed. The sound, a piercing shriek that seemed to come from the rock itself, made Jake spin around. His eyes widened in primitive fear as a tawny shape materialized on the boulder above him. A massive mountain lion, easily 150 pounds of muscle and fury, crouched 10 feet overhead. The cat's green eyes weren't focused on Storm. They locked onto Jake with predatory intensity. "Easy," Jake whispered, slowly, trying to swing his rifle upward. But the lion moved like liquid lightning, launching from the boulder in a graceful arc that made impact inevitable. Jake threw himself sideways, firing wildly. The shots echoed like thunder in the narrow canyon, but the lion had already adjusted mid-leap. Massive paws struck Jake's shoulders, driving him to the ground. His rifle clattered away across the stones. Storm watched, paralyzed, as predator and human rolled in a deadly embrace. Jake screamed for help, trying to protect his throat as the lion's claws raked across his heavy jacket. The cat wasn't trying to kill, not yet. It was sending a message. The other hunters came running, drawn by gunfire and screams. They rounded the corner to find Jake pinned beneath the mountain lion. The massive cat's jaws were inches from his exposed neck. When they raised their weapons, the lion's growl rumbled like an earthquake. "Don't shoot," Jake gasped. "You'll hit me." The lion's behavior defied logic. Instead of finishing Jake or fleeing from the other armed men, it maintained its position. Using Jake as a shield, its eyes swept between the hunters and Storm, who remained frozen in the alcove. "What's it doing?" one hunter whispered. "This isn't normal." As if in response, the canyon filled with new sounds, soft chirps and mews from above. 3 mountain lion cubs appeared on the ledge, peering down at the scene. Their den was hidden in the rocks directly above Storm's alcove. Helpless Foal had unknowingly taken shelter beneath the nursery, understanding dawn on the hunters. The mother lion wasn't hunting, she was protecting. Storm's presence had triggered her maternal instincts, and the hunters threatening the foal had become threats to her territory, her cubs, and her world. The lion's weight shifted on Jake's chest, drawing a wheeze of pain. Her message was clear: lower your weapons, or watch your leader die. The hunters looked at each other, calculating the odds. For armed men against one mountain lion should be easy, but the cat had every advantage. Surprise. Position and a hostage. "Do it," Jake croaked. "Put them down." One by one, the rifles lowered. The lion's growl softened but didn't cease. She glanced back at Storm, then at her cubs, seeming to make a decision that would change everything about this deadly standoff. The mountain lion held Jake pinned for another heartbeat, then did something extraordinary. She released him and padded slowly toward Storm. The hunters watched in disbelief as the massive predator approached the trembling foal, who pressed it against the canyon wall in terror. But instead of attacking, the lion circled Storm, positioning herself between him and the hunters. Her cubs chirped from above, and she answered with a soft chuff. When Jake scrambled for his rifle, she whirled with a warning snarl that froze him mid-reach. "Nobody moves," Jake wheezed, holding his bleeding shoulder. "That cat's gone rabid, or something." But Tom Richards, the oldest hunter at 62, saw something different. "No," he said quietly. "Look at her eyes. She's thinking. She's protecting him." The lion continued her strange behavior, nudging Storm with her massive head. The foal flinched but didn't run. There was nowhere to go. Thecat persisted, pushing him gently toward the narrow passage that led deeper into the canyon, away from the hunters. Storm took a tentative step, then another. The lion followed, maintaining her position between foal and men. Every time a hunter shifted, she'd pause and growl, keeping them frozen in place. Her cubs watched from above, learning Allison in territory. Defense that no nature documentary could capture. "This is insane," another hunter muttered. Since when do mountain lions protect horses? Tom had spent 40 years in these mountains, legally and otherwise. He'd seen nature's brutality and beauty, but this was unprecedented. "Since when do hunters shoot nursing mares?" he replied, guilt heavy in his voice. Maybe she recognizes another orphan when she sees one. The procession continued, a terrified foal, a protective predator, and for armed men held at bay by maternal fury. The lion guided Storm through passages the hunters hadn't even noticed, deeper into her territory, where the canyon walls climbed toward her den. Jake tried to follow, but the lion spun with explosive east. Her paws swept his legs, sending him crashing down again. This time, her jaws closed gently but firmly on his boot, fangs penetrating leather. The message was clear: "You've come far enough." "She's hurting him somewhere," Tom observed. But where and why? The answer came as they reached a wider section of the canyon. "Here." A small spring created a pocket of green grass. Young aspens, and most importantly a game trail leading up and out of the canyon. The lion had brought Storm to the one place he might survive, the one exit the hunters hadn't blocked. Storm sensed freedom. The trail called to his wild instincts, promising escape from this nightmare. But he hesitated, looking back at the strange predator who had saved him. The lion sat calmly now, her cubs descending to join her for miniature versions of death, yet they showed unlike curiosity toward the foal. "I'll be damned," Jake breathed, forgetting his pain. "She's letting him go." The lion turned her attention back to the hunters. Her message was clear: the foal leaves. You leave, everyone lives. It was nature's brand of justice, administered by an apex predator who understood loss and chose mercy over instinct. Storm took his first steps toward the trail. The lion watched, but didn't follow. Her job was done. The foal picked up speed, his young legs finding strength and hope. As he climbed toward freedom, he looked back once more at his unlikely savior. The lion chuffed softly, a sound almost like goodbye. Storm climbed the game trail with desperate energy, his hooves slipping on loose shale. Behind him, the mountain lion kept the hunters paralyzed with her presence. Every few steps, the foal looked back, unable to comprehend why a predator had become his protector. The trail switchbacked up the canyon wall, rising toward a ridge that promised escape. Storm's legs burned with exhaustion. He'd been running on adrenaline since dawn, and his 6-month-old body was reaching its limits, but freedom lay just ahead. Then he heard it, the distinctive whistle off wild horses. Storm's head shot up, ears pricked forward. That call meant family safety, others of his kind. He answered with a high whinny that echoed off the canyon walls. The response was immediate, multiple voices calling back, growing closer. Below in the canyon, the mountain lion's ears flicked at the sound. She rose from her seated position, suddenly alert to new danger. The hunters noticed too, exchanging worried glances. Wild horse bands meant witnesses, complications, exposure. "We need to get out of here," Tom urged. Now Jake's pride burned hotter than his wounds. "Not without that foal, too many loose ends." The lion growled low and threatening. She'd heard the approaching horses too and understood the changing dynamics. Her cubs retreated toward their thin instincts, warning them of incoming chaos. Their mother remained steadfast, blocking any pursuit of Storm. The foal crested the ridge and froze. Before him stood 15 wild horses, a bachelor band of young stallions, powerful and protective off their territory. They surrounded Storm immediately, sniffing and nickering, recognizing him as one of their own. Despite his youth, the band's leader, a fierce 4-year-old paint named Warrior, stepped forward. His blue eyes assessed Storm's condition, exhausted, terrorized, but uninjured. The scent of death clung to the foal, telling a story that needed no words. Warrior's nostrils flared as Hecate, another scent human. With a challenging scream, Warrior charged toward the canyon rim. His band followed, hooves thundering like an avalanche. They reached the edge just as the hunters tried to climb the trail, and the sight below stopped everyone cold. For amid the men faced off against a mountain lion while Storm's salvation stood. Above them, 15 angry stallions ready to defend one of their own. The canyon had become an arena where human cruelty met nature's combined justice. Jake raised his rifle toward the horses, desperation overcoming sense. The lion moved instantly, her powerful jaws closing on the rifle barrel and wrenching it aside. The shot went wild, striking stone. The weapon clattered into the ravine as Jake fell backward. Warrior reared, his hoof striking sparks from granite. The other stallions spread along the rim, creating an imposing wall of muscle and fury. Their message aligned perfectly with the lions: leave now or face nature's wrath from above. And below, "Jake, it's over," Tom said firmly. "We're outnumbered by horses, outsmarted by a cat, and out of options. That foal's got more protection than the president." The mountain lion maintained her position, but her tail swished with satisfaction. She'd held the line long enough. The foal had found his kind. Her cubs were safe. The intruders were leaving. Storm watched from above, surrounded by his new protectors. The bachelor band had accepted him instantly. Orphans were rare, but not unknown in the wild. They'd teach him to survive, to grow strong, to remember this day when predators chose protection over prey. The standoff stretched taut as a bowstring. 15 wild stallions lined the canyon rim like avenging angels, while the mountain lion held her ground below. Between them, for hunters faced a choice that would define their futures. Jake Morrison, bleeding and disarmed, looked up at the wall of horses. His 45 years of illegal hunting had never prepared him for this nature itself standing in judgment. The paint stallion warrior pawed the edge, sending rocks cascading down each impact a warning. They're going to charge. One hunter whispered, "Down that trail, we'll be trampled." The mountain lion seemed to understand the moment's gravity. She moved aside slightly, no longer blocking retreat but still watching, ready to act if the hunters threatened storm again. Her cubs peered from their den, witnessing their mother's unprecedented alliance with a prey species. Tom Richards made the first move. The oldest hunter slowly set down his rifle and then removed his ammunition belt. "I'm done," he announced. 40 years of this, and I'm done. That foal," his voice cracked, "that foal deserves better than what we've become." "Tom, what are you doing?" Jake snarled. "The right thing." Finally, Tom looked up at Storm, visible among the bachelor band. That baby watched us kill his mother for nothing, for ego, for stupidity, and he's still standing, because a mountain lion, a predator, showed more mercy than we did. The lion watched Tom with those penetrating green eyes. When he stepped away from his weapon, she chuffed softly, approval from an unlikely judge. One by one, the other hunters followed Tom's lead. The weapons clattered onto the stone, the sound echoing like thunder. Only Jake remained defiant but weaponless and wounded. His defiance meant nothing. Warrior sensed the shift. The paint stallion's aggressive posture eased slightly, though vigilance remained. He whinnied to Storm, who pressed closer to his new protectors. The foal was learning that family came in many forms, sometimes even with claws and fangs. "You're all cowards," Jake spat, but his words rang hollow against the canyon walls. The mountain lion rose, stretching leisurely. Her point was made. Her territory was defended. An orphan saved. She padded toward her cubs, pausing to look back at the hunters. In her gaze lay a warning she'd remember their faces, their sense these mountains were hers, and justice will always find those who spilled innocent blood. "We leave," Tom declared. "We leave and never come back. And Jake, we turn ourselves in. All of it. The poaching, the trespassing, everything. You're insane." Jake struggled to his feet. "No," Tom replied, watching the lion disappear with her cubs. "I'm finally sane. That kid showed more humanity than we did. Those horses showed more loyalty. We're the monsters here." The bachelor band began to move, taking Storm with them. The foal looked back once more at the canyon that had nearly become his grave. Warrior nudged him forward toward new grasslands, a new family, and a new life. As the hunters gathered there, weapons to surrender them, nature's courtroom began to empty. The mountain lion's family vanished into secret caves. The wild horses flowed over the ridge like water, Storm safe in their midst. Tom helped Jake navigate the trail down, and their roles reversed, the follower no letting. Behind them, the canyon returned to silence, holding its secrets. But high above, a lone raven watched and remembered, carrying the story on black wings to places where legends are born. News of the canyon incident spread through Wyoming like wildfire, though the truth morphed with each telling. The official report read simply, 4 hunters surrendered to authorities, confessing to multiple poaching violations. But those who knew the mountains whispered of something more, a miracle where predators saved prey, where wild justice prevailed. Tom Richards led the confession, sitting in the sheriff's office with quiet dignity. 23 years of illegal kills, he stated, his weathered hands folded. "Bighorn sheep, elk is out of season. 2 mountain lions, and 1 Mustang mare." His voice broke on the last words. The younger hunters followed his lead. Their testimonies painted a picture of systematic poaching that shocked even hardened conservation officers. Jake Morrison, facing the longest sentence, remained sullenly silent. His shoulder was bandaged, his pride shattered, "And the foal?" Sheriff Patricia Williams asked. "The one you were pursuing?" Tom's eyes lit up despite his circumstances. "Saved by a mountain lion. I know how it sounds, but it's true. She protected him and guided him to safety, like she understood he was innocent." The sheriff, a pragmatist with 30 years of experience, might have dismissed it as a trauma-induced fantasy. But the wildlife cameras told a different story. Trail cams positioned throughout the canyon had captured fragments of lions standing over a foal, horses gathered on ridges, hunters retreating in defeat. Meanwhile, Storm adapted to life with the bachelor band. The young stallions taught him to find water in dry seasons, to read weather in cloud formations, to be wild in ways his mother hadn't had time to teach. Warrior became his fierce protector. The paint stallion's blue eyes were always scanning for danger. Rangers monitoring the band noticed Storm's unique marking, the lightning blaze that gave him his name, and began documenting his progress. The orphan who should have died was thriving, growing strong on mountain grass and brotherhood. The mountain lion and her cubs remained elusive, seen only in glimpses. But rangers noted something unusual. The big cat's territory overlapped with the bachelor band's range, yet no conflicts arose. Sometimes, in dawn's early light, observers spotted her watching the horses from distant ridges. Watching Storm, "It's like she's checking on him," Ranger Elena Vasquez noted in her report. Completely unprecedented behavior. Conservation groups seized on the story, using it to advocate for stronger protections for wild horses and predators alike. Donations poured into organizations working to preserve Mustang populations. Storm became a symbol without knowing it. The foal was saved by nature's unexpected alliance. Tom Richards, out on bail pending sentencing, spent his days differently now. He volunteered with wildlife rehabilitation centers, sharing his hard-won wisdom about animal behavior. "That lion taught me something," he'd tell anyone who'd listen. "Mercy isn't weakness, it's the strongest thing in the world." His testimony at the sentencing hearing moved even the prosecutor. "Your Honor, I spent decades taking from these mountains, but in that canyon, I saw them give, a predator giving. Mercy. Prey giving sanctuary. I'm ready to give back, whatever my sentence." The judge, moved by the unusual circumstances and genuine remorse, crafted sentences focused on restitution rather than just punishment. Thousands of hours of conservation work, hefty fines directed to wildlife protection, lifetime hunting bans, justice, tempered with the same mercy the mountain lion had shown. Jake Morrison alone remained unrepentant, earning the maximum sentence. But even he couldn't forget the green eyes that had held his life and chosen to spare it. 1 year later, the canyon told a different story. Where blood had stained stone, wildflowers bloomed. Where terror had echoed, peace reigned. The place had become something more than geography, a testament to the impossible. Storm stood tall now, his black coat gleaming with health. The lightning blazed boldly across his face. At 18 months, he was growing into a magnificent young stallion. Under Warrior's guidance, the bachelor band had claimed new territory, but they often returned to graze near the canyon. Where their youngest member had been saved. Ranger Elena Vasquez positioned her camera carefully, documenting Storm's progress for the conservation study that had emerged from that fateful day. The canyon incident, as it was formally known, had sparked revolutionary research into interspecies cooperation and protective behaviors in wild animals. "He's remarkable," Elena whispered into her recorder. "Shows no fear of mountain lions, unlike the other horses." It's as if he remembers. As if summoned by her words, a familiar form appeared on the ridge. The female mountain lion, now known to researchers as Guardian, watched the horses with calm interest. Her cubs, now independent yearlings, flanked her. One male cub in particular seemed fascinated by the horses, often following the band at a respectful distance. Storm noticed them first. Instead of alerting the band to danger, he simply continued grazing, occasionally glancing up at his unlikely protector. The other horses had learned to trust his judgment. If Storm wasn't worried about the lions, neither were they. Tom Richards arrived at the overlook, completing his community service by assisting Elena with the study. The prison had aged him, but purpose had renewed him. His expertise in tracking, gained through decades of hunting, now served conservation. She's teaching them, Tom observed, watching the lion family, teaching her cubs that not all interactions need to end in blood. That horse, Stormy's part of their education now. It was true. Guardian revolutionized the understanding of mountain lion behavior. Her cubs hunted normally, but showed unprecedented discretion around the horse bands. They had learned that some lives were worth more than meals, that territory could be shared, that ancient enemies could coexist. The story had spread far beyond Wyoming. Wildlife photographers from around the world came, hoping to capture the impossible predators and prey share space peacefully. Most left disappointed, but a lucky few witnessed what locals called the understanding. Storm had attracted mares, now young females drawn to his strength and the bachelor band's protection. Within a few years, he'd likely start his own family band. The Guardian's cubs would disperse and claim their own territories, but the lessons of the canyon would travel with them. Think it'll last? Elena asked Tom. This piece? Tom considered, watching Storm touch noses with another young horse. Nature is always changing. He said, but what happened here? It planted seeds. That foal will teach his foals that not all predators are enemies. Those cubs will teach their cubs that not all prey needs killing. Maybe that's how evolution really works, one act of mercy at a time. As sunset painted the mountains gold, Storm raised his head and called a powerful neigh that echoed off canyon walls. From somewhere in the gathering darkness, a mountain lion answered with a cough-like roar, not a challenge, not a warning, but an acknowledgement to species, shaped by millennia to be enemies, had written a new chapter. In a canyon once marked by death, life had chosen a different path. Storm galloped across the ridge, mane flying. His lightning blazed bright against the darkening sky. Forever wild. Forever protected by the memory of mercy. The hunters were gone, the mother was gone, but the legacy lived on. In every hoofbeat. In every paw print. In every moment where understanding triumphed over instinct. Some called it a miracle. Others called it evolution. But in the canyon where it all began, it was simply the truth written in stone, carried on the wind, and living in the hearts of all who'd witnessed the day nature chose love over law. If this incredible true story touched your heart and opened your eyes to the miracles that happen in our wild places, please subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. Share this video with everyone who needs to believe that compassion exists even in nature's hardest moments. Comment below if you've ever witnessed animals showing unexpected mercy or protection. Your stories matter. Remember, we are all connected in this web of life, and sometimes the most powerful protectors come in unexpected forms. Together, we can ensure that Storm's story inspires better protection for all wild horses and the predators who share their world. Until next time, keep watching, keep caring, and keep believing in the impossible.